Hi, everybody. Rachel from PTO Today here, and we are thrilled to have our friends at Get Movin Fundraising back with us again for another live chat. Today, we'll be talking with Becca, Jim, and Maggie from Get Movin Fundraising about fitness fundraisers. It's a great way for parent groups to promote health and well-being while raising money for the school. Hey, guys.
Hey.
Hi.
Do you guys want to take a moment to introduce yourselves and what you do at Get Movin?
Yeah.
Sure. I'll go first. I'm Becca Tybus. I am a senior personal event coach with Get Movin Fundraising. I have been with the company since its infancy, about over 20 years ago, or getting close to over 20 years ago. I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of schools, including my own kids' schools. So lots of experience, lots of fun, and excited to chat with you all today.
Great. Okay. Well, I'm Jim, and I have been with Get Movin for 10 years, but I've been in fundraising for well over 40. I know that makes me seem pretty old. Most of you listening might have been little kids, and I was that guy that walked in the building with gift wrap and cookie dough. Told you could win a new TV. Sorry, I lied about that. But years ago, I switched because selling products became a dinosaur, and love what I do now. Many of the people at the office call me Grandpa Coach now. So enjoy this like crazy, and probably the oldest guy in the company.
Well, we're glad you've stuck around for as long as you have, Jim. I personally don't call you Grandpa Coach, by the way. So I'm Maggie. I'm the marketing director with Get Movin. And so part of my job is to get to join all of these awesome Facebook Lives that we've been having, Rachel. And for anybody who is like Get Movin Fundraising, not sure what that is, basically we're a company, like Becca said, we've been around for almost 2 decades now. I've been doing this a long time. And we partner with schools all across the nation to help you guys basically plan profitable, really fun fundraising events. And so we're really excited to be here today to talk about that. One of the things we will mention kind of throughout that I just want to mention at the beginning is we do our services through a platform called FundHub. It's an event management and donation platform. And so we'll just kind of touch on that as it relates to helping you organize, fingers crossed, hopefully some really awesome fitness fundraisers. But yeah, like Jim and Becca said, we're really happy to be here today.
Great. Well, for everyone watching live, if you have a question, drop it in the comments, and we'll try to get to them all at the end of the chat. And this chat will also be available to rewatch on the PTO Today YouTube channel. So let's dive in. So we all know about fun runs, but what are other ways schools are incorporating fitness into their fundraisers?
Well, before we jump into like the new type of events, I do want to give a nice moment for the OG, the fun run, because even though we do all know what a fun run is at this point, that was really the first kind of shift from more of a sales-based mentality when it comes to fundraising into more of this idea of events that are healthy and really fun for students. And so even though, there's other events we can talk about now, and we will certainly get into them, I want to give a moment for the fun run and just kind of highlight how schools are keeping, the idea of the fun run, but kind of shaking it up a little bit, because I think that this is a really great place to start. If you traditionally do a fun run or you've never done one before, but you want to try something, schools are doing color runs. We all kind of know by this point as well what a color run is, but those are really, really fun, also really profitable for schools. You get a lot of community involvement. You bring in a lot of donations for something like that. It's a big event. Same thing for a glow run. This is a really unique idea that schools are doing, basically taking their fun run indoors and using their gymnasium with, black lights, neon, glow in the dark everywhere. There's a lot of energy. It's really, really fun for students. They're able to experience an event in a space that's usually just for gym, and now they get to run around or dance or do whatever. And then my personal favorite is the foam or the bubble run. And like you can see in here, there's pictures from a bunch of school events we've helped schools host. But bubble run is up in that top left-hand corner. So fun. A similar idea to a color run. You have your different stations around your track, but you bring in, whether you have the machines, I've also seen DIY if you don't want to run a machine for it, and you just create these big piles of foam that students get to run through. And then you can bring in bubbles with the bubble wands and stuff like that. So all good options if you are doing a fun run, you want to kind of shake things up. The great thing about this is the framework is the same. So you're still kind of raising money the same way. You're just kind of invigorating your event with some new energy with some of these themes. So good place to start, but we are talking about some other types of fitness fundraisers here today. So I'll kind of hand it off to Becca to talk about those.
Sure. Yeah. So, schools really are taking, like Maggie said, the traditional, fun run and kind of flipping it on its head and shaking it up and doing a lot of different type of fitness oriented fundraisers and can be a lot of fun, and really the sky's the limit. Doing obstacle runs where you would have different stations, literally things that your gym teacher has like in their storage room with balance beams and tire hop and bean bags. Schools that are doing, they actually rent out those bounce houses and super fun for like all ages. Like your teachers and parents are going to totally get involved in that too. So jumpathons are super popular. Move-a-thons, which really you are defining the word movement when we say move-a-thons. I mean, it literally can be just waving your hands, but it also gives you multiple opportunities, or students multiple opportunities to move throughout the day or even a time period. So really just redefining what movement means. And some schools will even partner with different nonprofits to bring in educational aspects with that. And then one of my favorites is a triathlon, but not TRI, a TRY-a-thon. And what's great about that is really kids are encouraged to try anything, whether it is physical movement, yoga, dancing, roller skating, but also incorporating reading, acts of kindness, mindfulness. So really being allowed to try anything. And what's great about, all of these different types of fundraisers is it really brings in family support. Students are totally engaged and love all the different varieties that you're offering them. And not to mention, they are super profitable. Most of the schools that do something a little bit different like that are going to exceed their fundraising goals.
Mm-hmm.
So why do fitness-themed fundraisers resonate so well with students, parents, and school staff?
Well, I could take that one since I've been in fundraising for such a long time and I did the whole selling of the products. One of the things that happened to me as parents would be just, they want to support the school, but they were tired of overpaying for things they really didn't want. Whereas a fitness event, they liked, and it resonated with them in that the kids are doing something good for them. And yeah, I'd love to support the school. Grandma would much rather send a $10 bill watching her student do some fit-a-thon things than buy some, box of chocolates that they no longer want. Okay. So the fun and the experience that kids have is what makes these fit-a-thons and fun runs and things work so well. One of the things I tell all my schools when I'm coaching is, look, we want to get the kids talking about this fundraiser at the dinner table. Mm-hmm. Well, they're not going to talk about selling. They're going to talk about, wow, it was so cool going through the obstacle course. That's how you get energy into your fundraiser and eventually raise more money. So the other thing you can do with it is sometimes bring in some gamification. Hey, let's create more fun and have some teamwork and grades against each other, classes against each other, etc. So, and even if you don't have the outdoors, I got to share one quick story of a really creative school that I had. So they couldn't do their a-thon outdoors. So they had to go indoors. We're trying to figure out, well, how can we do that? We don't have time for that. So what we did is went to the phys ed teacher. And as Becca said, use the the supplies and the resources you have. Your phys ed teacher's a great resource. What they did is set up their own fit-a-thon in the gym, the walking beam, the jump rope, the scooter race, all those fun things. But they did it during gym class. So no extra time was needed. And then what they did is kept track of these classrooms. So not every student had to do every event. They could assign teammates to each one. Now they're clapping and cheering, having a great time cheering each other on. So they did that, kept track of the times by class. And of course, the kindergartners had less of a goal than the fifth graders. You set your goals. We don't have to have the winning be the most. But the nice thing was about this school is then when they were done with the events after that whole week, then they could deduct minutes by raising money too. So it tied both of them in. So really the thing is, use what you've got. You can make it a fun day. And kids like, fitness. They like to do things. And a teamwork fit-a-thon can work great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then just, Jim brought up gamification, kind of that friendly competition, bringing in the idea of teams. And it's not just great for students, it works for adults too. So when we're talking about, why do fitness fundraisers work so well? It's because it's also really engaging even for your teachers, your staff, the other people within your school. What we're seeing a lot with these fitness fundraisers is kind of what Jim said. So they're, you're kind of breaking up your student body into different groups, whether that's classes, grades. If you have school houses, it also works well with that. And then they're earning points based on participation, as well as, how much donations they're bringing in. We actually have a school right now that's hosting a Move-a-Palooza. So great name for a move-a-thon. Love that. Notes. And on the day of the event, they're inviting their classes to perform their own custom cheers. And the class with the most school spirit will win a trophy and some extra recess time. So, when we're talking about competition, gamification, there's different ways that you can do that, especially with something like a fitness fundraiser. And I think this is also a good place for talking about all of these great elements for event fundraisers, gamification, competition. Part of that's reporting, right? You have to know who's on the top if you're going to compete. And so it's a good place to bring up FundHub. And you can kind of see an image of that here in the phone, because you really want, when you're hosting a big school-wide event like this, you want a central platform to consolidate all of the different elements as well as information that go into your fundraiser. So a couple of things that we offer with FundHub within gamification is the classroom leaderboard. So that's what you can kind of see here. And you can see a live lineup of who is at the top amongst your classes, who's ranking number one at the moment. We also offer a real-time activity tracker. So students and classes can actually track their participation minutes, which of course is great, again, for a fitness fundraiser. With a fun run, you kind of have your event day and, students are all kind of doing it at once. But with the fitness fundraiser, like Becca said, your movement could be a variety of things. And so you're tracking things maybe done in school, but also at home. And so having kind of that central place and that live tracker makes it really, really fun for students and families to get involved.
That's awesome. So how can schools keep fitness fundraisers adaptable throughout the year, especially during the winter months?
Mm-hmm.
Well, being from the Midwest, we really have to worry about the snow and cold weather and rain. If you're, in those warmer climates, you might not have to worry about it so much. However, we're finding that schools are really not being afraid to utilize those colder months into themed events like a Jingle Bell Jog or a Frosty Fun Run or Winter Olympics. That's a really popular one too. And utilizing, the theme of those winter months within your challenges, going outside with the snow, sledding, snowballs, those kinds of things. And then incentive wise, having hot chocolate parties or, warm hat days and those kinds of things can really, really bring new life to a seasonal type of event.
Mm-hmm. The other thing I want to mention, if you're like, well, my school's not in the Midwest, I'm in sunny Florida, but you want to have a jingle jog, also a great place to bring in the foam machine and just call it. I'm full on with the foam. But also if you're like, no, cold weather, don't want to deal with it, and you want to just shift your event indoors, like Jim just gave that great example, just utilize that gym space. It's the perfect space to host an obstacle run, fit-a-thon, whatever you're having within your gymnasium. Again, utilizing the resources you have. You could also rent maybe some things from like a local gym if you want to bring in some more, games and kind of things for students to do. We had a school do this. They did things like music in the hallway, which also is like really creative. So they kind of had different, sections throughout the day, and then students got to jump in the hallway and just dance as their movement. They then, of course, brought the obstacle course to their gym, but they also utilized other spaces. So they even did like building tiny kind of balance beams with found material in the library, right? They did like a pin the mustache on the principal, which is great. And so I think the point here is it's move-a-thons, fit-a-thons, they're really, really adaptable. So kind of wherever you are, in the country, whichever season you're doing it in, it's a very flexible event and you can really make it work for your school.
So what are some ways to design fitness fundraisers so they're inclusive for all students regardless of ability?
Well, inclusiveness starts with offering multiple activity options. Okay, like we mentioned just a minute ago, the cheer squad, the spirit squad, maybe the DJ. So some kids are more adept at these type of things and they might be on a physical challenge, but this includes then everybody. And of course, with team-based things, most of our coaches are really leaning more and more to team-based events. And by the way, I'm not going to interject too much, but at Fonda, remember, your coaches have all this knowledge and love passing it on to you. I often tell my schools, I'm the Robin Hood of fundraising. I steal these good ideas from other schools and bring them to my schools. I'm not as creative. I just steal them. So all kinds of team things bring in more inclusiveness. You can use adaptable equipment. Time, we talked about the flexible time limits and celebrating the group accomplishment versus individual. Readathons again, Becca mentioned, and we do lots of them. Oftentimes, the older kids read to the younger kids read to the older kids, etc. It's that buddy system. You can do the same thing in a fit-a-thon. Okay, so that can be done the very same way. And in a dance-a-thon, maybe a silent disco. They've got these new silent ways of doing things, which is really kind of cool, but very young for an old guy like me. But lots of ways that you can make this inclusive. And I was going to touch on one other thing here, because we mentioned the classroom leaderboard, but we have beyond that. We have an actual classroom page. So I had one of my schools, we did an Olympic theme, which is a great fit-a-thon. So they all made their own flag. And in our site, you can have a picture of the classroom with their team flag. And so then they bring that up, not just a leaderboard, but an actual team page that your kids and parents will love following. So it kind of goes beyond, all of that. So inclusiveness is something that we're big on, and getting everybody to take part in any way they can.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So what are some ways schools can celebrate student participation? Can celebrate student participation and effort, not just the fundraising totals?
Sure. So, first and foremost, most of the time when hosting any type of a thon or cash drive or whatever, it's a fundraiser, right? So you definitely want to, acknowledge those that are participating with donations, but you also don't necessarily have to do it with a dollar amount. Getting donations from different states or, railing donations from business sponsors. You can also celebrate student participation just by the physical activity, by their school spirit. Teamwork, Jim mentioned, classroom pages or houses. We're seeing a lot of schools really do things more on the teamwork, classrooms, grades, houses, and school-wide, and doing really big celebrations with those, dance parties, extra recess. We just saw actually on PTO today, they posted about the principal shaving his mustache. So many great things. of, how you can celebrate.
Mhm.
But the core goal is, that students, families, even teachers are feeling recognized, and then also bringing in your community. Don't be afraid to look at business sponsorships, employer matches. I had a school that had reached out to businesses to actually set up the little stations for the fit-a-thon. So like one company that it was a tire company, they were the ones that set up like the tires to like hop through.
Yeah.
Or reaching out to different fitness programs like Orange Theory. I had a school that did Orange Theory actually did like the warm up for the day of the event. They gave out gift certificates. So really, emphasizing the community aspect and family recognition. And you can incentivize just families working together and helping your fundraiser too.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are some creative twists or new trends schools are using to put their own spin on fitness themed events?
Well, we mentioned at the top about the glow in the dark fun runs. They are also expanding this into dance-a-thons. You could also do something with your obstacle run. So I think glow in the dark is certainly something that can work for different types of events. Becca mentioned the jump-a-thon, which I think is really fun, bringing in those really big bounce house inflatables. But inflatables, I think, also works great as an incentive. One of my favorite things that came out of the spring season actually was this trend of a student incentive for their fundraiser, where if they reach their overall school goal, the teachers and staff dressed up in these inflatable costumes and did a race outside or in the hallways. And then the students just got to experience the hilarious inflatable race, saw their teacher dressed as an inflatable alien or cow or what have you, and just run down the road. Why not? It doesn't cost you much, right? But it raised a bunch of money for them, that excitement. So inflatables, I think, is something you can definitely, we've seen schools kind of weaving in. Also, I think just a superhero theme is a really easy one that you can do for a fit-a-thon. One thing that I love that I've seen a few schools do is if they do a superhero theme, they tie it into the idea of their local heroes. And so they invite their community first responders to make an appearance, whether at the event or the kickoff. And the kids, they get to explore the fire truck or the police cruiser, sometimes meet a canine officer. And so if you're doing something kind of superhero theme, I think that's a great kind of addition to that. Becca mentioned the Olympics. This is a huge one. Again, works perfectly. It's right on, theme with a fit-a-thon or move-a-thon. We have a school right now that if they reach their overall goal, they're actually going to have an Olympic style assembly just for teachers. Again, it's just about really embarrassing teachers now. And students just get to cheer on, their teachers. They kind of compete in these kind of goofy, obstacle challenges. We have one in Florida that is doing a Gator Olympics. So they're kind of tying it into their mascot as well. And then what you'll see in here, Tough Mudder. So Jim actually partners with a middle school that hosts an annual Tough Mudder fundraiser, which is exactly what it sounds like. Kids get to run through basically an obstacle kind of course through the woods, in the mud, in rivers, across log balance beams. It's messy, but it's super fun. And I think in particular works really well with the older kids. So if you're at a middle school and you're kind of trying to think of something that's going to get student involvement, I would try out a Tough Mudder. And then I'd have to say the biggest trend, which I'll have to give it over to Jim to talk about because he has a ton of schools in Colorado that host these, but the Ninja Warrior Challenge is so fun. So Jim, tell us about that.
That's right. Ninja Warrior, much better for me than a mudder. I'm not going through the mud. But yeah, the Ninja Warrior, obviously coming from the hit TV show. And here in Colorado, if you watch that show, we've got three different ones that are always at the top of that on the TV show. So there are many gyms here and things like that. But again, on the Ninja and stealing the theme for excitement, you can do that. And some of mine do it very simple. They just have their own little activities from things they have in the gymnasium. Others, like one of my schools, built themselves a warped wall because they're doing it every year. So you can make your own, you can do your own. But on the other hand, I've got another one that brings in a company. Sometimes you have to pay the company. Other times they'll come in for free. And well, why would they do that? Well, because they're a gym that wants those kids to sign up So you let them hand out their business cards. They do a little demonstration or bring in a few of their items for your school, and they get business too. So it's mutually a good thing for both. So either way can work, bringing in a company, doing your own, half and half. The ninja things are fun. Take advantage of that popular theme while it's still popular.
So what tools can help a school plan a successful fundraiser?
So you got to really ask yourself, number one, how are you going to be planning this? Is it going to be during school hours? Is it going to be outside of school hours? Are you doing it where you want things to be tracked online, like your incentives? Handing out prizes can be a nightmare. Do we want to, or do you want to be able to easily organize those and distribute them throughout the week or weeks that you're doing your fundraiser? Are you recording activity at home similar to a readathon, but moving minutes or those tribe minutes that I had mentioned earlier? How our students are going to get recognized for those minutes. Are you doing business sponsors? Do you need an easy way to reach out to businesses and have them donate either water bottles or jump ropes or donate online? How are you communicating with your parents? Are you doing social media posts? Are you utilizing flyers and emails? Do you have a toolbox, if you will, of bingo cards where students can, cross off different activities that they are doing? Do you have leaderboards that are going to reflect your top classrooms, top students, and top houses, even with donations or activity? How are you tracking donations? And I mention all of these wonderful things because Get Movin Fun Hub does have all of these features. Of course, we pair it to you. Having a fundraiser is not rocket science. All of us that are coaches have done this time and time again for ourselves and for our schools. But we're here to help you, and we're here to tier what works best for you. So I encourage you guys to schedule a quick demo. It takes about 20 minutes with one of your coaches to customize the platform and your event towards your school needs.
Awesome. Well, it does look like we have a question. So Evelyn wants to know if she should incorporate these kind of fundraisers during school hours or outside school hours. Do you guys have a preference?
Jim, you want to take it or do you want me to?
I can take that one. I'd be happy to. I would tell you that I encourage my schools to do it during school hours. I got grandkids and I see how busy my kids are, taking them different places. The problem with a weekend or an evening event is that we got baseball, we got football, we got hockey, we got music, we got dance. So if you have it after hours and it's publicized, people don't take part because they're thinking, well, we're not going to be there anyway. So have it during the school is my recommendation. I have had a mix though. I got a couple schools that do it on a Friday afternoon, and then they have food trucks come in afterwards, and the parents come down and have dinner after the event during the school hours. But I recommend school hours to my schools.
Okay, that's a great idea. A lot of people like to comment, Jen. They said there's so many great ideas out there. Why not share? Which I think we all can agree with.
Yeah, that's exactly why we're here.
Well, that'll wrap this up. So thank you guys all so much for watching, and a big thanks to the team at Get Movin for joining us today for this live stream. You can also learn more about Get Movin at getmovinfundraising.com or follow them on social at Get Movin Fundraising. Also, if you guys have a topic you'd love for us to cover in future live chats, send us a DM. We love hearing from our community.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a great day.